Welcome to the Big Fat Dubs Rocketology Fight Night WWE Part 2. Tonight, we got a doozy for you folks. We got the greatest female wrestlers of the WWE history. We have, on the one side, as you can see, we have Trish Stratus, Beth Phoenix, Lita, and Natalia's versus the four horsewomen of the WWE. We are doing a bracket now, finding out who we think is the greatest female wrestler in WWE history. Now, as you guys can see, we don't have a long list of people. We don't have every female wrestler on here, and there's nothing to discredit all of them. The 8 that you see on this board right here is what we deemed are some of the greatest of all time. Now, we do the disclaimer. We have one side that is we considered is Hall of Famer, and the other side is what is considered as the four horsewomen. However, all 8 of these women are they're going to be in the Hall of Fame. If not, they already are. There are already 3 of them on this that are already Hall of Famers. Natalya is not a Hall of Famer yet, nor is obviously Sasha Banks, Charlotte, Bayley, or Becky Lynch. But there's no guarantee if you follow WWE from all the start of these careers, these women are Hall of Famers. And these 8 who we believe are the greatest that have ever stepped foot in the business. Shout out to Mae Young, to AJ Lee, Nikki Bella, the Great Moolah, Alundra Blaze, Jacqueline. You have the Bella Twins. You even got to give credit to the woman behind all the scenes, Stephanie McMahon. But we're doing these 8 because in what we've watched in WWE, these women have really stood out the most. And we'll kind of explain each one in not their full career paths, but as we go along, we do our picks. We'll talk about their impact in the wrestling and kind of why we think that they are the best female wrestler in this matchup. So, Kelly had something to say?
Yeah, just in case anybody's been curious about how these whole brackets are being made, shout out to Bracket HQ. I found here, this is where I've been making the brackets. Obviously, if you guys have watched our earlier brackets, you know I was using Pay because that was the only way I could actually put it in there. But able to do some research, found these guys. These guys are really good. Obviously, you've seen some different bracket layouts that we've set up. And even now, this time, I found out that I can actually add the quarterfinals, semifinals, finals at the top. Found out how I could actually make 2 different sides now. So I would definitely go check them out if you guys can. So yeah, shout out to Bracket HQ.
So how we're going to do this, obviously, we're going to pick whoever's going to win and everything like that.
By the way, we're not sponsored by them. So just keep them on
that. Cut me up again, you.
Sorry, I forgot to add that on.
In your ass, boy.
Want people getting the wrong idea, boy?
What? Smelling. It's ready. Ready for the Herbie. How we're gonna do this again? Similar to our last WWE one, we're not gonna have the wheel anymore. We're gonna try to make a good, solid argument of why. If we have any disagreements, we're gonna try to make an argument of why this person should move on.
Yeah. So same as like what we did last time. What women do we want to start the company with?
Yeah, literally, it's who do we think is the best? Who do we think is the best?
Who is the face of the women's division?
Exactly. So we're going to start off right now with Trish Stratus versus Beth Phoenix. I think this is easy for me. I have nothing but love and respect for Beth Phoenix. She's a great, trailblazer of the women's division, and even to this day, having a great storyline, being involved with Edge, and it has her own successful career. But there's no better woman in the WWE history than Trish Stratus.
100% agree, actually. And we were just talking about this here the other day, especially now with Trish coming back here. This would be the perfect era for her right now to be in if she was starting her young career.
Mm-hmm.
She obviously helped set the bar for the women's division and to what it is right now. But right now, if she would have come in right now, this would be a great time for her.
Regardless of what era she comes in, I think Trish dominates it all. So Trish Stratus moves on. Next matchup, we have Lita versus Natalya. Go ahead and make your pick.
The problem is I have with both these women is that I saw Lita early on,
Mhm.
specifically when she was with the Hardy Boys, Team Extreme, what they called themselves back then. Natalia, I've only got to see her last 3 to 4 years, so I'm kind of seeing the end of her career, and I didn't get to see the beginning of it, so I can't. I have to go with Lita because I've mostly seen her career, and that's. I'd love to go with Natalia because I've heard nothing but great things about her and all of her accomplishments. But for me, it's gonna have to be Lita.
I think it has to be Lita too. There's a special moment that there was the first women's main event in Raw. It was Trish versus Lita
Right.
for the women's title, and that's a very special moment. Lita is she's very much up there in the Mount Rushmore. Like if you think of women wrestlers, she's one of the people that people talk about.
Yeah.
Natalia is a great person to have. She's a great mentor to all the future talent. She what we always say is that she knows when to job. She knows when to take falls. And she makes everything better. She pushes talent and everything like that. And not saying that Lita, Trish, Beth, and all these other women can't. Natalia does it in a way that, it's kind of like John Cena now. John Cena now, he loses because he's pushing this new talent, and they're mentors. They're good overall people, and there's such a long history. Natalia coming from the Hart family, long line of amazing wrestlers, the Hart Foundation. She's the niece of, Bret the Hitman Hart, is one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. Her dad, Jim the Anvil Neidhart, and everything like that. But I am going to agree with Lita because Lita brought
Lita,
like a different style.
Lita brought the more hardcore side.
Yeah.
She helped bring out that hardcore side of the women's division, where Trish was more trying to bring out the more athletic size of the division.
Well, it was also the tale of Trish was the pretty girl. She was the hot girl.
Yeah, she was the princess.
And Lita was
pretty much.
was the punk, punk
Yeah,
girl.
right.
And so, I think this is easy. I think Lita moves on.
Yeah, agreed. All right. Now, this is mostly going to probably end up being a lot on Ryan's side because Ryan I never got to see any of these gals when they started. These gals came in after I stopped watching, so Ryan actually got to see the rise of their careers.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm only going to, like I said, the same thing with Natalia. I'm only going off of what I've seen these last 4 years since I've gotten back into it.
Yeah. So first one we have Sasha Banks. Now she goes by Mercedes Moné in New Japan Wrestling versus Charlotte Flair. I'm gonna go Sasha Banks because though the problem I have with Charlotte is that she's super talented. I do not want to take that away from her. She's very talented, but she's gotten a lot of everything handed to her because she's the daughter of Ric Flair. I gotta go Sasha because Sasha and Bayley stole the show at NXT Takeover in Brooklyn. An amazing amazing match there. She was part of the triple threat match in Wrestlemania when it was Becky, Charlotte, and Sasha. She was a member of the first ever women's Hell in a Cell match. She was, the first women to win tag team titles when they brought the women's tag team title in the division. Like, so much of her career, she was a first. And sorry, that's under my throat.
Yep.
Charlotte will go down as probably the greatest because of her accolades, but Sasha deserves that credit as well because Charlotte wouldn't have that success without Sasha pushing her.
Yeah.
So my pick is Sasha Banks.
I'm gonna roll with Sasha too, but I'm also gonna throw in the promo stuff as well. I feel like I get Sasha's way better on the mic than Charlotte. Charlotte's is always pretty much the same thing.
She screams.
She goes, Charlotte's like, I am the queen. I am better than everybody. I am this and that. Well, yeah, Sasha still kind of does the same thing, but she at least, gives more ways, more examples out there where Charlotte's just like already deemed herself, top of the division, because of literally her nickname title, the queen.
And that's the thing, though. It's like, and I agree, and that's a good point, is that Sasha, has been the boss, the blueprint, whatever you want to call her, right? All these different nicknames. And Charlotte, whether she's face or not, she always talks about being Ric Flair's daughter. She always talks about being the queen. Sasha, and the thing is, and like I said, for me, Charlotte has been given so much, and you could tell it's like she just came back and faced Ronda Rousey.
That's one thing I've told you too. These last couple of years that she's gotten hurt and then immediately comes back. She won tag team title. She's won
the women's SmackDown title,
Raw title. It's like, how are you able to come back and within a month you're already a champion again? It's like the same with fucking Ronda Rousey these last couple.
Yeah, for that, like Charlotte,
like, what the hell?
Early on in Charlotte's career, I would say I would give her over Sasha because of the fact of her being a champion and the pure athleticism. There is no one better than Charlotte.
Yeah.
Pure athleticism on this list. Charlotte is the most athletic person.
And you've also heard us talk about this too, as well as we've talked about guys and women that are heels. You have to make a heel. You have to make them to where we really despise you. We don't like you. I feel like Sasha's heel. I really do not like her, especially because she'll go into the whole like rich girl act sometimes and all that stuff, and using Snoop Dad,
Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, I said Snoop Dad.
You said Snoop Dad.
I did say Snoop Dad. I meant to say Snoop Dogg. He's my cousin. I got all these guys. I'm on the Mandalorian and all that stuff. Where Charlotte literally comes in as a heel and she's like, I'm just, the big dog around here.
Yeah, well, not only that, though, but, Sasha as a face, she was someone you rooted for. It was that underdog mentality.
And, yeah, because she was also, the smaller one. You didn't think, she was going to, do as well. But,
yep.
Sasha, I feel, is more passionate for wrestling than Charlotte. Where Charlotte was more, born into it. Where Sasha got to be a fan first and then become a wrestler.
Yep.
So, Sasha's moving on.
Yep. Next matchup, we have Becky Lynch versus Bayley. I want to say this right now. I want to give credit to Bayley because she is the most underrated of all four of these wrestlers on the four horsewomen side. However, it's unfortunate that you are facing Becky Lynch because had Becky not done her turn, becoming the man to take Becky 2 belts to what we've seen since that turn, Bayley might have moved on because there were so many good things. Like I said, the Sasha Banks Bayley NXT match for the women's title when Bayley won it. It's an amazing match. I'd actually recommend you go watch that match. It's really fucking good.
Let's do it.
But Becky Lynch, when she made her turnaround from the last kicker, the Irish,
I love that name. I'm sorry. I would
the Irish last kicker, all that stuff.
I love that name.
And I've always loved Becky Lynch. I always thought she's funny and everything like that. But when she turned to the man, her nickname, the man, to Becky 2 belts, to big time Bex, for what we've seen of Becky Lynch, Becky is what Trish Stratus is back in the day. Becky's become that person, and she can wrestle. And Becky is one of the best wrestlers we watch. And she's always tells a great story, whether she's heel or face. She brings entertainment. She's,
Becky has put in the work.
She really has.
What I've seen for her, she really put in the work because it looked like she was really not going to make it at times.
No, I mean, let's be real. So when they moved up, Sasha and Charlotte, there was already a guarantee they were going to move up. And then it was a matter of fact of do we move up Bayley or do we move up Becky? Becky was a little bit more ahead of Bayley, and Bayley needed that NXT push, the championship push, to really go further. And again, Becky was just one of those people where it's like, okay, you're kind of in the background a little bit. Now, Becky was also the first ever women's SmackDown champion when they did the brand split and everything like that. But we should also make a comment that Becky is also the first person to win a main event at WrestleMania for women.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, guys. We had to pause that for a minute. We are back.
So as you see, Becky Lynch moved on. I think there was a guarantee. I think there was equal argument there that Becky Lynch over Bayley. Again, Bayley's nothing wrong with you. I actually really love Bayley. Face Bayley or heel Bayley. I've always loved Bayley.
As you've said, yeah, face Bailey. I would have loved to see face Bailey because I just miss out because she's doing her heel run right now. But even watching like earlier today, I finally got around watching the Up Up Down show of the live launch event where that Stone Cold came on and stuff. But Bailey came on there. She's all dressed up and she's having fun with the guys and all that. Apparently, they're really good friends. So I was like, God, you were right. She looked like she would be fun to hang out with, a fun person.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I wish I would have got to see that before her big heel turn. But obviously Bailey, she's also been a great wrestler. Her and that Hell in a Cell match with Sasha last year.
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah,
that Hell in a Cell match, that was a freaking great match.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Obviously, Bailey's had some other great matches throughout her career as well. All these women have had great matches throughout their career, but Becky, though, like you said, I felt she had more of a chip on her shoulder, and that really helped drive her. Like you were saying, she was the last kicker, and it seemed like then that was the moment she had to come up with something new, or they had to come up with something for her in order to have her still around. And then she had that transition to the man, to where then that just totally took off for her, being on the cover of WWE 2K and just started this whole other uprising of the women's division, pretty much.
Yep. We'll talk more about Becky in the next round. We're going to go to the semifinals matchup. We have a classic matchup here, especially if you grew up in the Attitude Era and the Ruthless Aggression Era. We have Trish Stratus versus Lita. I'm going Trish because
Damn
it. This will be. I mean, again, like let's see what happens.
Let's see what we can do here.
Trish was always, and I'm not just saying this because I didn't watch these two, but I'm going off of what Trish as in anything that she has done phenomenal with, and pure athleticism. Is great on the mic. She's wonderful on the mic, and she really kind of set the tone for these 8 women here. She really kind of set that tone of being more than, she never really seemed like she wanted to be the model, never wanted to be the
she started out as actually a model, pretty much, the eye candy.
They all did back in the day. Like, let's be real, Vince McMahon is a fucking horn dog, and he used his power to, see these women pretty much, in underwear and modeling and shit like that.
Anyway, go ahead and continue.
But she really turned it around and became more of that, like, turn it around from more of like what women can actually do in wrestling, the trailblazer, the actual like, we are not just eye candy. We're athletes. We can compete with the men. Like, doing that kind of stuff. So that's why I picked Trish.
That's right. Well, yeah, you just saw my reaction when he picked Trish, because I was actually leaning toward Lita, which is kind of funny because I didn't remember really care for Lita too much back then. Of course, I'm sorry, me being the young guy I was back then, seeing Trish,
You had a crush on Trish.
Blonde, beautiful, big knockers and all that stuff back then. I mean, sorry. And Lita was, of course, had the whole punk look, and I was like, ugh, like, yeah, okay, that's not pleasing to me at all, and all that stuff. But then I kind of realized, because of what we've been talking about, how well can somebody play both a face and a heel? And so Trish, she played, yes, a great heel, better than I feel like she played a face. Mostly because Trish, she was a bitch. I'm just gonna be plain simple. She was a bitch when she was a heel.
Yeah.
Lita, I thought played both sides very well. When she was actually heel with Edge in that time era, she played that so great that it was so weird to see that transition from her, like I said, her being a face when she was with the Hardys, Supposedly being Matt Hardy's lover, and then all of a sudden she had this thing with Kane, with the whole having a baby with him and stuff like that, um, and then like I said, transitioning to the whole heel thing with Edge, and I thought she did very well with that, being the heel phase, because it made me hate her so much, because you knew she was somehow gonna get fucking help Edge out in some situation, help him cheat to win and all that stuff and all that stuff. But also you have to take in consent at Lita's athletic in-ring ability. Lita kind of propelled that whole getting hardcore aspect of the women's division then, with her moonsaults, her leg drops that she would do based off the Hardys. Also, she has some really great mic skills as well. As Ryan had mentioned earlier, famous match between these two in the main event of Raw, which became a great match. These two have gone at it so many times over the years that bitter rivalries, real life friends too.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to give the edge more to Lita if I'm looking at picking somebody, because I feel like I want somebody that's athletic because I want to put on a show. And I feel like Lita has definitely that more, plus her mic skills, and she can play both sides.
So here's a question for you: was Lita's mic skills pretty good?
They were pretty good.
Okay, because the reason why I bring that up is because obviously I didn't watch him.
She got the crowd going. She was a crowd pleaser.
So the reason why I bring that up is because I also think about as their role as heels and situations like that. I remember Cena tearing her down when he was cutting a promo and dissing Edge and her.
Yeah.
And completely point blank like took her down. So that was one thing, because I don't remember. I see a little bit of that from Trish, but Trish was always more of that, she had a comeback for it too. She always had a comeback, and that's kind of one of those mic skills that I've always liked about some people, especially as heels, is that they're
got to be able to back it up.
You got to be able to back it up, but you also got to be able to dish it out too.
Yeah.
If someone's gonna talk shit to you, and that was the thing, and that's why I want to bring up the mic thing, because obviously I didn't watch any Lita promos. The only Lita promo I know is when John Cena and Edge, famous rivalry, John Cena and Edge, one of the greatest rivalries, those two right there. But he kind of really, just. But it's Cena. Cena does that to everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be real. Cena does it for everyone.
I mean,
so are you saying that? So was Lita ever someone's sidekick, or so you were saying how Lita or Trish? Excuse me, Trish. I'm asking Trish. Because you're saying Lita was with the Hardy Boys, which I remember Team Extreme.
Yep.
And then she was with Edge and kind of helped him with wins.
She had a small thing with Kane in between there. Like I said, they had the whole thing where...
Was Trish ever that aspect?
Not that Trish had a little thing. This is actually kind of when I kind of started. It was when Jericho was trying to hook up with her, and then Christian had the big fight, thing. And then we found out at the end of the match that it was all a setup, and she actually betrayed Chris and Christian.
So I'm gonna actually concede and go with Lita with you, because you brought up a good point. Is the versatility of playing a character not just as a sidekick for someone or part of a storyline between male wrestlers, but to also have her own storyline. And that was the one thing I was just kind of wondering about Trish, is if she ever was that way, because I do remember that, actually. I do remember that.
Trish, I always saw as a better heel, especially not just with Lita, when Lita was face, but when they brought in Mickey James, for example, when that whole thing started, that they tried to transition Trish to a face, and Mickey was heel, and that whole thing, and it just wasn't appealing to me seeing Trish as a face. Granted, today, she can be a face because she's a legend, she's well known, but she was better back then as a heel. Or, like I said, Lita, I felt back then could go both ways.
I'm going to concede and go with Lita because I feel like you brought up a good point of the versatility.
However, I cannot say how many women's championships these two won across each other.
I think that has I mean, championships have to be pushed aside because if that was the case, Charlotte wins the whole damn thing.
No, I'm just talking about between these two.
I know. I'm just saying
right now.
I'm just saying I never want to use championships as an argument to say because if that's the case, Charlotte wins this whole tournament. Charlotte has the most between any one of these women and everything like that. My whole thing is like I said, I agree with you about Lita because of the fact that she was a secondary person in a rivalry, kind of an off piece that kind of helped someone. Where Trish has never really been that, except for one occasion, but never really been that. So that to me means more like Lita would be someone that you can pitch a storyline to, and she would be better at it. Yes. So I agree with you. I'm gonna concede and say Lita.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I mean that's fair enough. Also, I feel like Trish was better as a singles competitor, where Lita actually would go as both singles and tag team.
Yeah.
Or, like I even said, with Matt, when she had the relationship storylines as well.
Just match. Huh? I get it. Now you just
driving
the knife. Now you just driving the knife. No, I get what you mean though. Like yeah. To me, Trish is the face of women's wrestling and always has been. But you brought up good points that Lita has that more versatility in anything you can put her in.
She has more to offer, in my opinion, than Trish does.
Exactly. So I agree with you on that.
All right. Wait. All right, then. Semifinals now for the Boss Sasha Banks and the man Becky Lynch.
It's Becky. It's Becky for me because you can't go wrong with either one of these women and everything like that. But Becky is, again, like Lita. Someone you can pitch any storyline to and anything like that, and she's going to take that in consideration and thrive. And I know a lot of people say, like, oh, well, she's like Charlotte. She gets championship matches and stuff like that. That's not on Becky to actually have that happen. Becky came back and had a championship match against Bianca because she had to vacate her title due to pregnancy.
Yeah.
Well,
she literally just gave to Asuka.
But she just became tag team champion. She went a long time without winning a title. Becky, and I'm going to say this, with Sasha. On a mic, Sasha's probably better than Becky. Wrestling-wise, you're pretty damn even on the other. Yeah. But I think the crowd can be I think the crowd gets behind Becky more than Sasha. Whether as a face or a heel, the crowd gets behind Becky. And she's brought a lot of good stories. She's brought a lot of cool things. Sasha,
I feel like Sasha's always one-dimensional.
She really is. There's more versatile with Becky as a heel and a face because she really is the female Stone Cold Steve Austin. Whereas Sasha Banks, this is a great match. This is a great matchup right here.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to say this right now. They're their own wrestlers, their own talent. But this is accumulation of The Rock and Stone Cold. You have someone Good
point.
You have someone that comes from a long history of fame, right? Snoop Dogg is obviously your cousin and everything like that.
Right.
And you have someone who started from pretty much the bottom and has worked their way up, had to find their image and becoming that badass that going out and kicking everybody's ass and like that. You can't go wrong with either one of these two, I don't think. If we're comparing The Rock and Stone Cold, I've always been leaning more to Stone Cold. And for this, I'm going to lean it towards Becky because Sasha was the first for a lot of things, but Becky was the first woman to win a main event at WrestleMania. And Sasha, where the 4 Horsewomen are today would not have been the place without Sasha Banks. I want to say that very clear. Yeah. She set it up for them.
I also have a feeling, too, with Becky that she is willing to help out younger talent as well, take those sacrifices. Much like we've been seeing, like we've even said, with Seth and Cena lately, or even Miz lately.
Yeah.
I feel like Becky's that next one up, realizing that, even though she had a kid, she took a bunch of time off, but, eventually she's going to have to probably end up taking more time off here. Or
she's going to eventually retire.
Or Reese, even for example. You know, she's gonna have to take all that time off to be more with the kid, and then
Yeah.
until the kids are grown up. But Becky, like I said, I feel like Becky has overcome way more than Sasha throughout her career, from what I've seen.
Sasha has had the blessing of lots of title opportunities. Becky won the first title opportunity, won the first ever Women's SmackDown Championship. Then there was a long spit where she didn't even have another chance until she became the man. And again, both of them can work the crowd so well. I will say this. Sasha as a face was good, and she played that underdog mentality, but it was always that boss mentality. If I had to compare heel for heel, Sasha's a way better heel than Becky.
Yes.
Way better. But face to face, Becky beats Sasha. But if you combine the two and say face and heel, who is stronger on a performance level on both of them, Becky does take the case. Because even when heel Becky's there, like, she knows how to piss the crowd off.
Oh yeah.
But it's good story. And like you said, like she's lost to Bianca Belair. Never, always talk about I want a rematch and everything like that. Has gotten chances, but then it's like, okay, I'm going to move on to other storylines where I'm going to face Bayley, and I'm going to face this person. So there's so many opportunities, and
also I feel like Becky has never really, from what I've heard, never really complained about stuff backstage, like not getting more opportunities about championships and stuff like that. Where Sasha
has walked out twice.
Has walked out and complained
twice,
not getting paid enough
twice.
So,
and I get that, and everything's a business. So we talked about this in the NFL. We talked about this in every sports thing like that. WWE is a business, and I get that. But my thing is that you have to learn that you can't be the champion all the time. And I don't agree for one person being the champion all the time.
Yeah.
Like we talked about. I don't like Charlotte Flair. I will gladly admit that. I do not like Charlotte Flair. I do not like Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
I'm annoyed at Roman Reigns because he's the same way. Cena was also the same way. Cena got a lot of title opportunities.
Yep.
That's why I love Seth Rollins. A guy who work any job and kill it. Randy Orton. Any job, kill it. So, for me, it's Becky Lynch.
Agreed. All right, guys. That takes care of both sides of these guys. The 4 Horsewomen winner, Becky. Hall of Fame women, including Natalya. Lita.
I don't think we should say Hall of Fame. I think we should say Legends.
We'll just say Legends.
Because it's not fair because technically Natalya is not a Hall of Famer. But all these women are going to be Hall of Famers.
Yeah, they're definitely.
They're also legends, but we're just going to count that like that.
Yeah.
So, I guess we should say Ruthless Aggression area.
So obviously, we saw Trish and Lita getting to that point.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think people were obviously expecting Becky and Charlotte to get to this point, to get further on me in the semifinals, but they didn't. And now we have to decide here who we're going to go with.
I actually think this is the right. We were accurate on all of them based on who their rankings are because I would have never voted Charlotte. No matter who Charlotte would have faced, I would never vote for her.
Well, like I've said too, you being able to see the whole 4 Horsewomen, you got a way better idea. Me being able to see most of these women legends, minus Natalya, and their part of their career, it helped.
It was pretty much. It pretty much was a bracket. It was pretty much a bracket of the legend side was more Kelly's side, and then the 4 Horsemen side was more my side.
Yeah.
So we're in the finals now. We're at Lita versus Becky Lynch, a wonderful matchup. I'm gonna stick by my girl. I'm gonna go with Becky Lynch because again, what she's done for the company and everything, and being the advocate and being the real Lita is a great trailblazer. It's actually funny is the finals is between the 2 current women's tag team champions, so that's actually kind of funny. And what Lita's done before, kind of setting up, helping with Trish Stratus to set up the future of what women can do, but Becky has taken that and taken it to a whole new level.
Yeah,
I think about eras in wrestling, and always that one person that takes the jump. but the person that started it. If you think of male wrestlers, first and foremost, people talk about Hulk Hogan, Macho Man Randy Savage, Ultimate Warrior, Andre the Giant, going into Shawn Michaels, going into The Undertaker, going to Triple H, to Stone Cold and The Rock, to Cena, to Orton, to Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. And each one of them always kind of takes that step ahead. Now, granted, I don't think anyone's ever going to pass Orton, Cena, Rock, and Stone Cold and Triple H. You're talking about the 5 greatest wrestlers of all time.
Not anytime soon.
I don't think ever. Seth is close. Seth is the closest. Seth, I'll put Seth in there.
I'll give Seth that.
I'll put Seth in there. But for this, for the women, Trish and Stratus were the faces, right? That was women's wrestling. But I think Becky has taken that role
and exceeded
and further exceeded it. Like,
further exceeded it.
Like, first and foremost, to have a women's main event in a WrestleMania, and for Becky to be that person to win it, is honestly, WWE is known to doing to pushing a certain person, right? And for example, we've seen that in the last few WrestleManias. We've seen the hype of someone going into WrestleMania to face Roman Reigns. But what does Vince McMahon always say? Vince always goes with Roman Reigns. So in a matchup that was Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair, and you could have gone it, either one of those two would have made sense. You have the daughter of the 16-time world champion Charlotte Flair, the poster child. She's going to win the most championships and all that shit. You have Ronda Rousey, who's one of the most dominant UFC fighters in history. You know, a celebrity pretty much, and like that. But you went with Becky, the person who's finally getting that push, finally getting that hype, and you decided, you know what? It's her time. Let's take a chance on her winning it and see where we go with this. And she has done nothing but excel, exceed it,
killed it
to this day.
I mean, I heard about all this stuff with her, like, because I still followed wrestling before I got back into it. And yeah, hearing this girl calling herself the man, I was just like, what the hell is this stuff? And then going and finding out, like, okay, this whole story of how she become all this stuff, and literally becoming the face of women's wrestling because of that man gimmick that just helped propel that. Young female fans getting behind that, the older female fans, loving that, seeing that stuff. Becky captivated a whole another generation, in my opinion.
Well, she also too, and to say that, and to add on to your point, you said she's became the face of women's wrestling. She really became one of the faces of WWE as a whole.
Right.
Like, if you had to, take WWE in the last 10 years and put people in there about, you always see them in all the posters and all that stuff. It's always the main people in there. Becky's up there. Becky's one of the only women to probably be in there, besides whoever she faces in rivalry. But you're always going to see the same. You're always going to see Seth. You're always going to see Roman. You're going to see Brock Lesnar. You may see Drew McIntyre or Austin Theory or someone else, but the person that's going to be in there with Seth and Roman, because it's going to be that same thing, is Becky Lynch. And I will say this: I went to Stomping Grounds, which is a pay-per-view in Tacoma, a few years ago, and I went to Monday Night Raw in Everett the next night, and Seth was there. Like, I got to see a show, and the only person the crowd to outshine for Becky was The Undertaker. That was the only person. We're talking Daniel Bryan, and Daniel Bryan always has a lit crowd because it's Washington.
Washington native. Yep.
Seth Rollins was champion, and I love Seth Rollins, but there was the New Day, there was Roman Reigns, there was Alexa Bliss, there was all these wrestlers and all these different intros. But the one the crowd got behind the most was Becky Lynch. Yes, the Undertaker beat her, but that's because we didn't know the Undertaker was going to be there, and a fucking Undertaker. I mean, you bring out a legend at any point, it's going to get the biggest pop. Like, I actually think the one that beats everybody, no matter who it is,
Stone Cold
gets the biggest pop everywhere. Yeah, I think this is the rightful winner. Becky Lynch is the greatest women's wrestler in WWE history.
There you guys have it. But always let us know how your guys turn out. Do you guys agree with us? Did you like our arguments? Did you think our arguments were a bit weaker, stronger for each of these women? And also, do you want us to do more of this? Do you want to see us add other women onto this and see how what arguments we can make for them? And Ryan's got something.
Yes, there are some women that didn't make this bracket that I want to give shout out to that I think, that deserve some credit. So we're talking to the past. And Kelly and I talked about this, and this was more what I watched when I first came in. The Bella Twins, AJ Lee, and Paige. Phenomenal storylines. Kind of turned from the total diva era to the women's wrestling again, especially AJ Lee and Paige, because they weren't the divas. But I'm going to talk about 3 wrestlers that are current today in women's wrestling that are going to be, next time we ever do this list, a few years down the road if we're still doing this stuff, 3 wrestlers that I'm going to put on here that I would say you guys should go watch if you guys are wrestling fans. Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, and Liv Morgan. They are becoming the new faces of the women's division, and to a point where, Liv is becoming the new extreme queen. You have Rhea Ripley. Again, she is what Lita brought in. She's that punk rock. She's that different tone. She's not about her beauty. She's about going out there and kicking ass.
Yep.
And Bianca Belair, just probably the most athletic person you will ever meet. And great storyline. True, she's held up her own as being a champion.
Yeah.
Another person that probably on this list and on the road, Asuka.
Definitely.
Phenomenal wrestler. And she's very funny on the mic. But
can't understand what you're saying.
But she is so great at her technique. So shout out to some women that aren't on this list that, down the road we may expand it and do it again. Like I said, Bella Twins, AJ Lee, Paige, Asuka, Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, and Liv Morgan. A person that will never make this list is Ronda Rousey.
I'm sorry, I can't put Ronda in any of this stuff because it's just given to her on a silver platter, in my opinion.
If this was women athletes in general, we're talking WNBA stars, some of that stuff.
You're talking the
Ronda Rousey will go down as one of the greatest because what she did to women in UFC, hands down, Ronda, you are a trailblazer. You are an icon. In WWE, I can't say you have the same. But again, nothing to take away from you as a person because I don't know you as a person, so I don't ever want to judge you as a person. I'm just talking about the WWE and everything like that. So, and honestly, Rhonda, I've seen your gaming streams and all that. You're awesome. That's cool. You kind of help the nerd community kind of come out a little bit more and be like, hey, I can be an athlete, but I also love Pokemon or I love Dragon Ball Z and stuff like that. So that's always cool.
All right, everybody. Thank you all very much. We have 2 more wrestling brackets coming as well. You're wondering why we're doing all these wrestling brackets because it's Mania season. So
it is WrestleMania
I figure
season.
It's a good time to do stuff like this. We also have a baseball one coming up too. Same thing. Baseball season's in swing right now with the World Classic going on right now, and soon the regular season will be starting. And that's all we got for right now. Also, like Ryan said, we got a couple more movie reviews here to start as well. So look forward to those.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining in as always. Like, subscribe, punch that notification bell. Thank you for joining for another Fight Night. Bracketology. And as always, tune into everything we have coming on as we get things going on. Let us know what you guys think. Let us know what you want to see. The next 2 brackets will be... one will be the greatest tag team of all time. The other one will be the greatest faction of all time. And I'm gonna talk to you. We should have a 5th one. She does have a 5th one. I'll tell you about it.
All right.
We'll get everything going like that. And as always, Kelly with the outro.
Amen. Send them home to mommy. Thank you guys all very much. We'll see you in the next one.